DJ,
Yeah.
this a hit, boy.
No competition like no I in my team. No, all they wishful thinking or is it a nice dream? And we can see him coming, no need for high beam. Decision making, change a player, just do the right thing.
Welcome to Post Point with your host, Winton McCullough. Hey, it's time to talk some sports, y'all. I'm glad y'all decided to talk some sports with me. Yo, if this is your first time hearing this, y'all about to experience someone so cold, because I got the lineup for y'all today. We talking Lakers, we talking KC, we talking the greatest clutch athlete ever. Matter of fact, enough of that. Let's start the show.
Wasn't with me in the gym, so how can you contest? Walk on hilltop and ran many miles to be the best.
You know, in sports, not all skills are needed to be great. Like, you don't have to be a great tackler to be a great pitcher. But there are some skills that translate across all sports that you do need to be great. One of those, or the biggest one, is being clutch. New York Yankees closer Mariano Rivera, Hall of Famer closer Mariano Rivera, is the definition of clutch. Rivera is number one on the all-time saves list at 652. His 652 saves is out of 714 save opportunities. That's ridiculous. There are circumstances that awards a relief pitcher or closer a save. No matter the circumstances, when Mariano came into the game, you knew the game was over, and the whole world knew what was coming, the cut fastball, but there was nothing you could do about it. Don't believe me? Here's a quote from former MVP catcher from the Minnesota Twins, Joe Mauer. This from MLB.com/blogs. The most frustrating thing about facing Mariano is that you knew what was coming, but he still is tough to hit. In the 9 seasons I've gone to the plate against him, he hasn't changed at all. He's still the best closer anyone has ever seen, end quote. For those of you who are not familiar with baseball, the closer is the relief pitcher that comes in late to close out games. In some aspect, the closer has to be the most clutch player in all of sports because they're only called on in clutch situations. Growing up as a New York Yankee fan, I was spoiled by what I saw from Mariano Rivera. Why? Because he came in and did what he did night in and night out. I thought that was the standard for athletes in all sports. Going through the years and watching different superstars come up short in clutch moments, I realized that what Mariano Rivera was doing was greatness, and it made me appreciate him even more. As prestigious as Mariano Rivera is, he doesn't get talked about enough. He should be highlighted even more, making him the Flashpoint hero of the day.
Look my uniform, I'm having it proudly way I'm dressed. The more I'm getting better, me more you getting worse. And thinking we competing.
All right, to start off Hit 'em Up, I want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs a little bit here. You know, the world has been bamboozled by the Tyreek Hill era and the prolific offense that came with having Tyreek Hill, Andy Reid, and Pat Mahomes. The past 2 years, Tyreek Hill has been gone, the offense has declined, yet they still won 2 Super Bowls. Something that the Chiefs' time is done. Because of their play this year, a lot of close games. A lot of people have changed their tune on that. A lot of pundits have changed their tune on that, being that they've gotten healthy and they look better. But I still think it's time to shed some light on who this team really is. Now, I'm not a fan of the Chiefs. I'm not a fan of how Mahomes was crowned as the greatest ever so early in his career. I have a lot of respect for Andy Reid, and I'm a fan of disruptive defensive tackles like Chris Jones. To go back to how this team wins, they have an effective offense, an offense to help them win, but they don't have a dominant offense. The defense keeps improving year to year. It's very good right now, but it's not great. Their special teams is solid. They are not known for a dynamic special teams, but they have a special teams that don't get them in trouble or don't cause them to lose games. So when you take out offense, defense, and special teams, there is one element left in winning football, probably the most important element, and that is situational football. Now, we will be here all day if I go over all the situations you can take advantage of to win a football game. But an example of this is in the 2023 Super Bowl. After Philly tied the game 35-35, you saw that team who had the ball last would win the game. Now, of course, no matter what, you have to execute. But the offense for both teams showed that at that point in time that neither offense was going to be stopped. So with 5 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock, the Chiefs said, we are not going to give them the ball back anymore. Their play calling showed that, their patience showed that, and their poise showed that. Most competitors, when you're down in the fourth or tied in the fourth, that pressure builds. And the mindset is to forget everything going on in the world. We got to go up on the scoreboard. The Chiefs saw that. It was like, nah, they're not getting the ball back, and we're going to end this thing right now. They have been winning a lot like that since Hill left, and they have won that way a lot this year. What stands out is the Chiefs have situational football down to a science. It's like once a situation comes up where they can win a football game, everyone is on the same page, from the staff to the players. Everyone knows their role and what needs to be done, and then they go out and do it. It's very remarkable. It's a way of winning that most teams don't have down to a science like the Chiefs do. Now, you can't just go out and say, I'm going to build a team that wins situational football. You got to have horses to get you in those situations. And KC has that. They have the greatest play caller ever, or one of the greatest play callers ever in Andy Reid, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever in Pat Mahomes. They have one of the best, they have the best interior offensive line in all of football. They have one of the best defensive tackles to play the game in Chris Jones, so they have horses. And a lot of people might not like what I'm about to say. I know a lot of football fans are not going to like what I'm about to say, but when you match those horses with how they win football games, it's a big reason why this team probably going to win their third straight Super Bowl.
We competing, but not the same verses. No. Keep your emotions in, cause this loss, it might hurt, bro. Of course we came to win, got the squares out our circle. They passed me.
All right, so to start our freeway, we're going to stick with the NFL. I want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals, or specifically their staff. And when you have a talent like Marvin Harrison Jr., a legit number one receiver, a beast of a receiver, you got to be creative. You got to game plan and getting him the ball, taking the load off the rest of the team. The Cardinals run this scheme where they like to spread the ball around and get the ball to Trey McBride. It's cute. Get the ball to James Conner, and I get that. A run game is very important. But after that, you got to get your main horse, the ball. Marvin Harrison Jr. is more than just one of those professional wide receivers. You could have a guy like Robert Jones or Jawan Jennings for all that. Sterling Shepard, someone who's a good professional wide receiver. But when you got a talent like Marvin Harrison Jr., you got to let him cook. I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched a whole lot of Cardinals games to say how they are strategically deploying Harrison, but when he is 22nd in the league in targets on a roster that is not that good, you got to do better. If the defense is rolling coverages towards him, then it's up to the staff to get creative and get him the ball. This is the one thing that irritates me about coaches in sports, period. Some are stubborn when it comes to their game planning and how they do things. Things changes, circumstances changes, and when it does, you have to change. It's a big reason why Andy Reid is still going strong as a head coach and Bill Belichick is not. What does this have to do with the Cardinals and their head coach Jonathan Gannon and their offensive coordinator? They seem to be focused on making sure the ball is spread around and James Conner gets going. I get the Conner thing again, but after that, you got to get the ball to your thoroughbred outside Harrison. You have to get him the ball, forget everything else, and I'm not saying force him the ball, but you're spending all of those hours game planning, drawing up stuff to spread the ball around. You need to be game planning and drawing up stuff, spending hours on how you're going to get Harrison open, how you're going to get him the ball early and often. The number one receiver has become very important in today's NFL. The Cardinals have a legit number one receiver, a guy who could dictate coverage and open up the game for everybody else. The quarterback, Kyler Murray, the run game. When you have a guy that the defense has to roll coverage to, they have to keep 2 to 3 players on the side of the field that he's on. It takes the load off of everybody else. The Cardinals have this, yet they're not using it properly, and they need to be more creative in getting him the ball. Let's transition to the NBA. You know, I am Team LeBron. It's no secret. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm a big LeBron fan. I wanted y'all to go back to 2015. This is when LeBron first went back to Cleveland. He left Miami, went back to Cleveland, and they had Kyrie, LeBron, and K-Love. They were not good to start that season off. They were not very good. They wasn't good until they got Shumpert and they got J.R. Smith. I'm bringing this up because ever since the Lakers won their last championship, they reminded me of the LeBron Cavs team pre-Shump and J.R. trade. Now, when they won the chip, I feel they fell victim to national media and basketball pundits telling them that they needed more shooting. Yet they just won a championship. I don't know if you remember that championship run, which a lot of people like to call it the bubble championship, but the Lakers were on their way to a championship before the pandemic shut the season down, and they took that same style of play into the bubble. It was evident that they lacked shooting, but they doubled down on scoring in the paint, bullying you, and playing lockdown defense. So after winning the championship, they made offense a priority. They got a stretch big and Marc Gasol, offense off the bench and Montrezl Harrell, Dennis Schroeder, who, if you remember, before that season that he went to the Lakers, Schroeder was putting up numbers in OKC. They also added Wesley Matthews. Here are the players that were on the championship roster that were not on the team the next year. Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, Danny Green, and Avery Bradley. Now, the difference between these groups of players is one is better offensively and the other is, of course, better defensively. Since then, the Lakers have suffered with their identity. Again, during their championship run, their identity was being tough on both sides of the ball, smart play, and hitting important shots. There was a time frame where they got back to who they were when they won the NBA Finals. This is when they made it to the Western Conference Finals against the Nuggets in 2023. There are 2 names that are not playing now that was on the Lakers roster back in 2023. That is Vanderbilt, who took so much pressure off the Lakers scores by being intense on the defensive end and the boards, and they had Schroeder. Now, this version of Schroeder was different than the Schroeder from a year or 2 before. That Schroeder was brought in to be a staple on the offensive end. The Schroeder in 2023 was brought in to press full court, be disruptive, play at a breakneck pace, and hit timely shots. Schroeder and Vanderbilt helped the Lakers get back to their identity, but after that, Vanderbilt has been hurt and they haven't replaced what Schroeder brought to the table. JJ Redick has been good for this Lakers team, but they still need more two-way players. They were able to bring in Dorian Finney-Smith, which is good. Getting back to JJ Redick, he's helping them establish a new identity that is one of execution on both ends of the floor. The Lakers are starting to build for life after LeBron. Initially, they wanted to go and get Dan Hurley to establish a system that they could rely on. Dan Hurley turned that job down. They did not change course with what they wanted. That's why they went and got JJ. They just need to get more two-way players to help with winning. That Laker team that went to the Western Conference Finals in 2023 did not make it to the finals, which if they did, they probably would have won the championship, but to stay on course, they did not make it to the finals because they ran into a juggernaut in Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Nikola should be the face of the league. I don't really know what the fuss is. His career is illustrious, his rep is impeccable, and he's not to be messed with. Like, the dude is problematic. He always plays at an advantage, being that he's probably the strongest player in the league, if not one of the strongest. He looks at the competition like, finish my breakfast, why? I got an appetite for destruction and you're a small fry. His footwork is off the chain. He has an adequate handle that allows him to bring the ball up the floor. His IQ is through the roof. His passing skills is up there with LeBron and Magic, and he's an effective shooter. Now, it's no secret that he is a limited athlete, which is a big reason why you're able to talk about him being limited on the defensive end. But his ability to make everyone better and be a number one option that nobody can stop negates his deficiencies on the defensive end. He should be the clear-cut face of the NBA. I feel it's because he is not a superior athlete. I mean, you have to go all the way back to the Bird and Magic era to find a face of the NBA who was not a superior athlete. The way things are looking, Jokic will never become the face of the league. He already has 3 MVPs, a championship, and a finals MVP. So what more can he do? But he ain't going nowhere. He is currently 3rd in the NBA in points, rebounds, and assists, and he is number 1 in 3-point shooting percentage, one of the most important stats in today's NBA. So he's probably going to win another MVP if he keeps this up, and I feel he's not done winning championships yet. Alright, so that's going to do it for Post Point today. You know what to do. Follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe on YouTube. Look forward to seeing you next time. Peace.
No competition like no I in my team. No, all that wishful thinking, or is it a nice dream? And we can see him coming, no need for high beam. Decision making, change a player, just do the right thing. Wasn't with me in the gym, so how can you contest?